the end of it was, are we learning to live, or are we learning to make a living?
We have to do both. We have to do both, which is why, in my session yesterday, the plenary session where I did a keynote speech, the theme was basically education. For what purpose? And I called us back to the fact that we had asked this question, and 7 years ago when we asked this question through this multiple stakeholders approach, what we came out with is that education the purpose would be to nurture the mind, create a good society that can compete globally. That was 7 years ago. That's at the society level. At the individual level, we said that every child that goes through the school system, that we would educate them for character, for aptitude, and to be able to have the skills to meet our needs. That's a purpose. That's all encompassing. It is talking about the motor skills. It's talking about the affective skills, the value construct of the child that comes out of your school system. And it's talking about the cognitive skills, the capacity to learn, to absorb knowledge. When a child is totally trained in that kind of a holistic education system, that child would learn how to solve problems through life. So it would not matter what level of problems, it's only to the extent of how much they wish to learn. Because you've given them the fundamentals to have that curiosity for discovery.
Let me jump in. And it's coming to me now. You talk about training the trainers.
Yes.
Because I do remember many years in Federal Government College, we had quality teachers at the time. I didn't know I was going to remember my agricultural science, the agricultural extension agent, what we had to do. I thought, what do I have to do with this? But here I am. I remember what he taught us at the time. In teachers, we learn character.
Yes.
We learn how to comport ourselves.
Yes.
A lot of learning. Now, you talked about training the teachers at a cost-sharing arrangement between the federal and state government. How would that work?
Okay, because you see, education is an activity that is on a shared format constitutionally.
Yeah.
So, the federal government, other than through the unity schools, has no business with secondary education. It's only the unity schools, okay? That is as in investing in secondary education or basic education. What happened with basic education that made you see the UBE was essentially the federal government sort of saying, you know what, if we left this thing about basic education simply to the levels, the local government and the state, we may just wake up one day and realize that we are seriously falling behind in terms of universalizing access to basic education. So he decided to do an intervention initiative. That's what the UBEC is about. It's simply an intervention by the federal government into
Not regulatory.
an aspect. Regulatory and standards is the overall business of federal government for education.
Yeah.
But investing directly into education at basic level is purely an intervention thing. Okay? So that shared framework that the Constitution has given concerning education means that everything about investing in the teachers, whether for basic education or for secondary school, would happen through the resources of the states and local governments. But clearly seeing that just leaving that aspect of education to those levels would endanger the entire federation. So the federal government had to play a role and say, wait a minute, teacher quality is a major problem. So we will put this on the table as an agenda that we want to work on. And we're going to get the states to see what we are seeing concerning teacher quality and teacher availability. Could you believe that 7 years ago, that we had still over 200 and something thousand teachers with teacher grade 2 certificate. What are you going to be teaching children who were now way beyond that level? Some of the children in the classroom can teach their teachers. If you left them with only the knowledge that a teacher grade 2 certificate could give them. So one of the things we did, you were talking about action.
Yeah.
One of the actions we took was that upgrading of the teachers from that level. So the National Teacher Institute in Kaduna, we designed a program to every year just upgrade about, I think the first set of people were something in the neighborhood of 40,000 teachers with teacher grade 2 certificate, put them through a 2-year intense program, upgrade their skills to at least a minimum of National Certificate in Education, NCE. So that was action, and it started. I don't know what, where that program is. Another thing we did was, even for the ones with degree certificates or NCE certificates, when was the last time they went through any retraining and reskilling and upgrading of their knowledge? So we had the program for upgrading the in-service training, and 145,000 were put through to begin that immediately. And then we said, there is a fundamental issue of the dignity, the prestige, and the attractiveness of the profession. You remember, you're younger. I can play rank on you because I'm older than you. But I do still remember very much. My teachers, my goodness, other than my parents, my teachers were it. I would look at some of my teachers when I was growing up. In fact, I so loved one of my teachers. I loved the way she worked with purpose. I started as a little child saying, I'm going to work like Mrs. Kuforiji. She works with purpose, and I would say to my dad, this is the way Mrs. Kuforiji works with purpose, and I'm going to work with purpose. Teachers, they just completely can personify.
It reminds me of